What's going on, everybody? Coach here, and Dev is over there on the other side of the screen. Say what's up, Dev.
What's up, everybody?
So today I wanted to have a deep dive talk, and I wanted to do one of our breakdowns of Black Lives Matter. Actually, since things calmed down, we can actually look into some of the things that they're doing. Now that everything's calmed down, we can start saying what's next. What we always say, like what's next, what's on the agenda, what are they really about? So I figured we'd do one of our breakdowns of their website and just look at some of the things going on there, and then maybe point out some things, maybe concerns that you might have, or myths that need to be destroyed because people just don't want to do the research. So we're going to do a little research today and actually go to their site and see what it says. And then that maybe helps some people out there that don't understand and are just our followers, and the misconceptions of whether it's communism or not. I'm not sure. So we'll look into that a little more as we go through the site.
I have a spoiler alert for you.
What?
I don't think Black Lives Matter in and of itself is communist. But
communist?
I mean, there could be people within it that are communist, and there can be ideals that are part of it, but that in itself is not communism. All right. So without further ado, let's get into this deep dive. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, guys. Ooh, try not to. Allergies, man, allergies. All right, so we're here. Coach, can you see the Black Lives Matter home screen here?
Yes, I can. It's on the screen.
All right, so we're talking about the about here. So hashtag Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter isn't a movement, it's a hashtag. No, I'm just kidding. It was founded in 2013.
Well, that's how it started.
Yeah, I think it was founded in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer, wasn't that his name, Hernandez or something? Trayvon Martin's murderer.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Black Lives Matter Foundation Incorporated is a global organization in the U.S., UK, and Canada whose mission is to eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in the violence inflicted on Black communities by the state and vigilantes. By combating and countering acts of violence, creating space for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy, we are winning immediate improvements in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything in particular you wanted to address from that? Because I know there's a part in here where they were talking about, where was it here? That we'll get to here later on that I have some kind of, not like a personal vendetta against, but they're the global organization to eradicate white supremacy. That'll be something I'll get into here later on once we get to a different segment. But was there anything there that you wanted to address, or you want me to keep going?
No, I just keep going. I just wanted people to hear about what they're saying they're about right now. That's pretty much self-explanatory.
All right. So we are expansive. We are a collective of liberators who believe in an inclusive and spacious movement. We also believe that in order to win and bring as many people with us along the way, we must move forward beyond the narrow nationalism that is all too prevalent in Black communities. We must ensure we are building a movement that brings all of us to the front. We affirm the lives of Black, queer, and trans folk, disabled folks, undocumented folks with records, women, and all Black lives along the gender spectrum. Our network centers those who have been marginalized within Black liberation movements. I like the term folks here. I don't know why, but I really like folks. Like when I read this earlier.
Hold on for a second. And that's kind of key what it is too. Like there's many people that Black Lives Matter. You know how that argument that they say, well, they're not even helping Black lives. Mm-hmm. Anything that's fighting for equality and changing some of the things that are happening around in the community that there are people in the community right now fighting for, I'm all for. Like I see that if you're fighting for a collective amount of people, that means you have a collective amount of arguments and protests going on. So I think they're on the hook for what they're saying they're doing. And I think a lot of people just think it's all about Black lives. It's not. It's about LGBTQ, equal rights for women, ageism. There's like 10 things that they go through. So I wanted to say that to make sure people understood that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, and also too, I mean, they're against police brutality, and a lot of people who might think like it's only just about Black people. The BLM had a service for a white man who was shot by police. At the same time as they were having protests for, Black people shot by police. I mean, they're against police brutality regardless of the color of your skin. So These are very important aspects to consider whenever you're thinking about, like, am I about
And that
BLM and so on and
and
so
that's a
forth.
valid point. A valid point. Like when they say that too, well, of course, white people are going to be killed more by the police because you're the majority. So there's going to be a higher number. If you do it per capita, black people are being uh, more arrests are happening in neighborhoods that are housed with black people. So in percentage wise, it's bigger in the black community. But knowing that this thing is happening in the white community, you should be outraged too. You should be outraged that the police are killing people when they don't have to. There should be other things to do, and we'll get more into the police thing down the line. I just wanted to make that known that they should be joining this type fight to say we don't want the police to kill nobody. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
what I get out of it.
absolutely. All right, so where are we? We are working for a world where Black lives are no longer systematically targeted for demise, and we affirm our humanity, our contributions to the society, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. The call for Black Lives Matter is a rallying cry for all Black lives striving for liberation. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I would say that I guess you have to have a center focal point, but whenever they're addressing like transgendered and all that jazz, I would say that maybe their rallying cry for all lives striving for liberation.
Yeah.
Unless they were like, maybe whenever they're saying black, queer, and trans folk, disabled folks, like they have black there. I wonder if maybe they were referring to black, queer, trans folks, black disabled folks, black undocumented folks, because that doesn't make any sense though.
No, they're
No.
not saying that because if you look at the numbers, like I just mentioned about like the white people are the majority, you see the representation of the percentage of this country that are black people participating in this and white people that are participating in this. So I think they're not specifically going for black people.
Yeah.
That's what they're going. They're going for anybody that
He
is not
supports.
getting equal rights. So that goes for any color or anything. So far, I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm all for it. You know what I mean?
So now we're going to Black Lives Donate. So if you click their donate button, I'm going to move my head here. The minimum it looks like is, never mind. You can pick whatever you would like to. Fund the movement. We appreciate your support of the movement, our ongoing fight to end state-sanctioned violence, liberate black people, and end white supremacy forever. Donate to fuel our campaigns for justice. Contribution rules. This contribution is made from my own funds or the funds of an authorized corporation or entity. Act Blue Charities. Now, this is the thing that you said was interesting, and I haven't looked into it yet, and I actually have it pulled up. But who is Act Blue?
Act Blue is a Democratic fundraising site for the Democrats, So they are supporting Democrats. They're 100% behind Joe Biden right now to help, raise money to get him elected. So there goes Act Blue. You got it up there. So
yeah, how Act Blue works. We want as many groups as possible to be able to create strong grassroots fundraiser programs. Our platform is available to Democratic candidates and committees and progressive organizations, nonprofits that share our values for no cost besides a 3.95% processing fee on donations. So they're kind of like a PayPal of Democratic committees, progressive organizations, and so on, nonprofits.
Yeah.
Because they're taking on this money, they're taking like 3.95% of the processing fee on the donation and operating as a conduit and then getting those out to through Act Blue to a campaign or organization. So really BLM, now I think this is a little disingenuous if you're somebody who's not, because I don't like that it says Black Lives Matter and then it has all the same font, all the same colors, all of that. Like it's still that page, even though you're donating to a completely and utterly separate charity. Because if you look here, the web address takes you to a whole different website. You are no longer on blacklivesmatter.com. You are at secure.actblue.com, donate. So like you're not donating directly to Black Lives Matter. Now, is that disingenuous? Do you think that's disingenuous, Coach?
It could be. See, here it goes. Like this is what I was thinking about when I was doing my research on it, how people were saying, yeah, it goes to the Democratic Party. But what you just read is more or less like a PayPal for Democratic causes and businesses that align with their mission statement. Black Lives Matter is not a 501c3. People think it is, but it's not. It's a private corporation. So they are going to hire people like this to take care of their money. So it could be easier that money goes to the right places, gets out of people's hands. So everything's on the up and up, and they have a record where they don't have to completely keep it. You know what I mean? They're pretty much outsourcing their money donations, and they're saying, yes, we are supporting a democratic policies and candidates and functions and all that type stuff.
Yeah. Well, I
So that's
agree
very,
that the Democratic platform, like I'll agree with you. The Democratic platform is the best platform if you're somebody who is progressive in your thinking, you know, whether it's for racial equality or what have you. But I mean, this raises a lot of flags to me, as in who decides where this money goes, right? Like this is always my big thing with like charities or giving away money to something. Like there you are, you're
right.
thinking you're giving to an organization, but really what you're doing is you're giving to like an aggregator who will then, or a distributor who will rather distribute those funds among other organizations and stuff that you hope to support. Now for campaigns, like I want to go look at some of this stuff. Like I don't want to go look at the about, the contact. I kind of want to go to like support for campaigns, organizations. Like I want to see like some of this stuff.
Check it out.
Let's see here. Events and merchandise contribution form features, merchant account strategy, getting started. Working with contribution forms, how to send your supporters a link to make a supporter form, customizing thanks messages and receipts for individual forms, using evaluating supporter forms. What's the difference between a managed form, a community form, and a supporter form? Embedded forms, buttons. Okay, so like this is basically how they get their contributions. The dashboard, steering your two-factor device, how to use your overview. Like I'm just curious to see if there's something in here. Custom inputs, recurrent. Like, is there a way that the people who make donations get to express where their money's going?
I don't know. That's something that's interesting too, and to be accountable. I think if you donate your money, they should have they probably have, everything has an overview statement of saying, yeah, we're pretty much going to put it where we want to say, click this button to say you agree. You know what I mean? Most people don't read it, but I would kind of think that you would, but these type of entities like Act Blue, I think they have to show publicly what they've done with money. They have to. I think it's public information if you're a 501c3.
Absolutely. Well, but I would be wanting to know, like, because that would be my first thing is like, you don't know, besides BLM, what are the other ones available? By the way, we're going to donate $10 million right now to Black Lives Matter.
We'd be hit if we did that, bro.
Yeah.
Another thing though, too, why we went to the donation part while you're looking for something, I don't know if you're still looking, but I wanted to say this. Know what you're donating. That you brought up a very good point, because know exactly what you're sending your money for. Do the research, look through people's sites, find out exactly where it's going, and if you're okay with it, then you go ahead and do it. But if not, you look into it. Because what happened, an interesting story, is this guy in California in 2015 opened up a 501c3 called Black Lives Matter Foundation. Now, Black Lives Matter didn't register until 2017 out of Delaware. So now it's going to be a big court thing. So now when this thing erupted back in April, when right after that time when the riots started and they were getting their donation push, they were sending money to this guy's donation that as of 2017, he only made $300,000. He ended up with like $4.3 million in donations because people thought they were donating to Black Lives Matter. They didn't do the research. They just Googled, and he was at the top of the Google search. So they went there and donated money.
Well,
now they have some people. What's that?
To be fair, you also don't know where you don't know if you're donating to this Black Lives Matter or not. I think what it is that you donate to, and this is just my speculation here based off what I'm seeing, is you go to Act Blue, you donate, and what happens is, because Black Lives Matter is in cahoots with Act Blue, which is, you know, a Democratic fundraising site, then BLM is getting the support of the Democratic Party, and thus then like they're distributed, like they're getting ebb and flow of power, because basically Black Lives Matter is getting power because they're working with the Democratic Party to help them raise money, and then vice versa, the Democratic Party then is doing things sympathetic to their cause.
Yeah,
so
it's the same thing with anybody's campaign. They are a political party, trust me. They just haven't made that move yet. They haven't got to that point yet. But so they're just backing who they're backing. But I believe how strong they are right now, that if they, this stuff came about maybe a year ago, that they would have a candidate up there right now that they're supporting. I truly believe that they
Yeah.
would really picked the candidate that they wanted and groomed and been sitting with and talking with for a while to get them up there. I'm sure there's one that they have now that they're going to go with the next campaign with, because they're powerful, bro. They are very powerful right now. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I have no doubts on their power, but I think their come to power is because, again, I think they're like, just based off what I'm seeing on here, is because of their cooperation with the Democratic Party right now. Like, that's why they've come to prominence, because the Democratic Party has elevated them even more so,
do
because
you
they're
think
raising money.
it's that, or is it the other way around?
I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think that they're a codependent partnership. Like,
Yeah, they're
one's getting
definitely.
one with the other. I mean, it's a fair exchange, in my opinion. Like, Democrats are taking the Black Lives Matter movement and riding with it, because it's people want to donate to this cause. And they're like, well, we want to make the money. So there's like, what if you funneled the money to, like, they're basically saying to the BLM, what if you funneled the money to us, because we have your interests in mind? And in exchange, then, it's like an exchange of power. It's also, they're going to probably fund Black Lives Matter campaigns and organizations, and it's like at the city and local chapters. You know how we were talking about, there's like subdivisions of BLM probably in every metropolitan city in America. So I
Yeah,
think that's kind of what they did. Like they helped elevate them to a higher status in the, like, more seriously in the political sphere. Like, they're not just like an activist group. Like, they are really an actual force for change now, because they're working with the Democrats directly.
yes, and I believe, like, it's not them sending all this money to the Democrats. Trust me, it's broke
Oh, it's
down. Like,
not, I'm sure, but I'm just saying, like,
no, no,
but
no.
they are funding those things.
Yeah, yeah, but I just want that to be clear, that BLM is controlling their own destiny right now. Like, they're not doing anything out of nothing other than what they choose to do, because that's how powerful they are. So, what it's probably is, it's broke down like a contract. Like, if I get 10% and John gets 30%, so when the money comes in, it just goes to those accounts that it's broken up on, whatever agreement that they sat down and signed. So it's definitely a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours scenario going on up there. So far, what I've seen, I haven't seen anything different than anything else that goes on in this country. Any charities, any corporations, nothing different, nothing that says, oh, I can't support this at this particular point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 100% behind them right as of yet. One thing I wanted to mention, though, before we move on from the donation part of it, is true, is like, yeah, those are the things that where we're at. One of the questions that you can ask at this point, now that everything's calmed down, and now they can sit back and say, hey, well, what's next? Well, where's the donation go? How much of it goes back into the communities and are helping with some of the programs that are going on, that been going on before Black Lives Matter popped up? Or what are we going to do with that? Are we going to go back and help some of those programs, send some people out to maybe with some funding, and doing things beyond just defunding the police and working on that scenario?
Yeah. Well, I think we're about to get into one of those ventures here. So the next tab I pulled up is their hashtag defund the police tab.
Right.
It says, enough is enough. Our pain, our cries, our need to be seen and heard resonate throughout this entire country. We demand acknowledgement and accountability for the devaluation and dehumanization of Black life at the hands of the police. We call for radical, sustainable solutions that affirm that the prosperity of Black lives. George Floyd's death was a breaking point and an all too familiar reminder that for Black people, law enforcement doesn't protect or save our lives. They often threaten and take them. Right now, Minneapolis and cities across our country are on fire, and our people are hurting. The violence against Black bodies felt in the ongoing mass disobedience, all while we grapple with pandemic that is disproportionately affecting, infecting, and killing us. We call for an end to systematic racism that allows this culture of corruption to go unchecked and our lives to be taken. We call for the national defunding of police. We demand investments in our communities and resources to ensure Black people not only survive, but thrive. If you're with us, add your name to the petition right now and help us with the word. Currently, we are fighting two deadly diseases, COVID threat 19. White supremacy is threatening our existence, and both are killing us every single day. We demand real transformation now, transformation that will hold law enforcement accountable for violence they inflict, transformation of this racist system that breeds corruption, and transformation that ensures our people are not left behind. And they have this petition right here to sign. So now this is one of my gripes here. Like, why, like if I click this, why can I not view the petition? Why can I not see exactly what is in the petition? They say, sign this petition. We're going to defund the police. And me as a person who wants to support you defunding the police, I'm sitting there going, but what exact things are you planning to do in this petition? Like, what is this petition calling for besides defund the police? Like, yeah, we get it, defund the police, but what are we putting in place after that?
True. And you know me too. That would be something that I would look at too. I research. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to know what I'm getting involved with. And that would be one of the things. And I think at this particular point, they have it on the board. They're having those discussions. And to me, it's all legislation. Their main goal is to go change that legislation and get people in there like-minded like them to run some of these programs. There should be equal balance of people in this country in those power positions. I have nothing wrong with that. Saying that their goal, I think everybody's goal is, the conservatives' goal is to control the whole government. So everybody's on that. They're in it to win it. Like, I don't see why people go to that argument, because everybody's in it to win it. And they're going to do what they need to do for their side to win and to stay in control. So there's no different in that in any other organization that is out there. They're out to win. So right. I have nothing. That does bring like, I want to know. I do want to know if, especially if I'm investing money, show me what we're doing, or show me what that petition.
Yeah, like what that petition going to do, because again, like they could have a petition that says defund the police, but what provisions are in place? Like, what provisions are in place to replace that? Because again, you and I have talked many times in the show that we aren't just, me and you are not like, yeah, defund the police and that's it. Like, just take money away from them. We're like, now take that money and put it here.
Right.
And for your community, or do these things, make these programs a reality, you know, like, right. Like, or create programs that promote those programs. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to defund the police, that money needs to go somewhere to still help with the social issues at hand. And I don't think that, again, I would like to review this petition. I was going to go to the Action Network, but I have to make an account. So maybe, like, I was going to see maybe if I could view it on the Action Network's page, to maybe see if I could get, you know, verification on what the petition's about, but I can't right now because we're kind of live, or not really live, but we're recording, and I don't want to, you know, reveal my personal information. Y'all might dox me and send me crazy stuff on my email. So, so I'm not going to do that. But I think that's a very important thing when we're talking about reform, is because I think they're, I mean, of course, which is where we're all at right now. They're playing with a lot of emotions, but we want to make sure that we're getting answers in the aftermath of all this. Like, we're getting solutions.
Yeah.
And not just supporting something blindly.
We've been in that scenario before. This is nothing new. This is just the same blueprint of back in the 60s and 70s of all the protesting and riots and stuff like that. It's the same format. There's nothing different. The only difference is now is the technology allowed it to go global. That's the difference. It became a huge movement now that you got people that are on lives every day that are down there. You're seeing what's happening. You're not hearing it from your mainstream media site. You're not getting a one-side information. You can see it for your own eyes, what's really going on. And I think that's what made it so powerful and so fast. It's because of the technology that we have now, to be able for it to spread out there and other people to say, holy shit, they wasn't lying. That, you know, when Johnny told me what's going on over there, I didn't believe him, but I see it now. So I think that's what makes this, what's going on, so powerful. And like you said, it's at the point now where it's like, okay, you got the world's attention. Now, what is the plan for us to capitalize on these things? And plus, I'm saying this also, that the people that are in the community that have been working for years and years with nonviolent programs in black communities spends the most money in all communities. Do that research. I don't have that up for you, but do that research about with nonviolent programs, gun violence, stuff like that. They are trying every day. When people say, well, what about it? What about this? What about that? And they're putting it on Black Lives Matter. It's not all on Black Lives Matter because they clearly say what they're trying to do. And those things are trying to come back with. One big problem of every black community is saying we need to get the police under control when they come in our neighborhood. That's what Black Lives is doing. One of the big things that we have in our community. And then involve them to go into the community and help build that community relationships. And some of these kids will put their guns down. Some of these kids will stop doing crime. Some of these, it'll be effective if you can have that balanced type of work. So it's very important that people understand that fact and not just go off of what you go on Tucker Carlson. Yeah, every day, and you just listen to him saying they're communists, and only picking out things and not really giving context to it. Go to the site and read it.
Yep, I agree. Now, where are we at here? I think we are on the What Matters 2020, which is just them stating that, that will focus on issues concerning racial injustice, police brutality, criminal justice reform, black immigration, economic injustice, LGBTQIA, which I think I stands for intersex and A stands for asexual, and human rights, environmental injustice, access to healthcare, access to quality education, and voting rights and suppression, which is basically their platform. That I'm sure that their platform started with police brutality, but as most people are probably aware, I mean, they're going to expand their platform and their power out to all of these issues that address the black community. So,
right.
Like, and I don't think there's anything like revolutionary there. Like, that's pretty much like, obviously that's what's going to happen.
And pretty much every subject that they're touching has to do with everybody. They're not saying just black. The people are misconstruing them grabbing a great hashtag and tagline and name for it, because that's what they did. It's actually genius marketing, because they picked the thing that said what is going to cause the most attention and to get people where we need to do. There is an agenda to this. They wanted those things to happen. They wanted people to go out and protest in the street. They want to fight these things. So they knew that what was going to happen. They knew that was going to happen. The George Floyd thing just made it. It was just a boiling point. Like,
what do you mean? What do you mean by they knew these things were going to happen?
They knew that at some point this was, that they were going to, the next time something, amongst their leadership, the next time something comes, that's it. We're hitting the streets. It's election time. They knew what they were going to do.
Right. They were going to cement themselves with power. And I got to be this too. Why the George Floyd thing is so relevant is just because it was a point of contention for both parties. Like there was the conservatives used it as a way to try and prove their point, because they were going to say, look at George Floyd's life.
Yeah.
They were going to use it. They were going to use the he's no angel argument, because he did drugs and because of all the other bad things that he did, with I think it was like didn't he hold like a gun to his mother, pregnant girlfriend's head or something, or to the baby's stomach? I forget which one it was. Either way.
He broke into a house. He broke into a house, and they convicted him of sticking a gun in a pregnant female's stomach while they were robbing her house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
that did happen.
Yeah.
All the stuff that they brought up, his record, that all of that is true.
Right. All of it is true. But again, at the same time, I still don't think that deserves you of death. And that's kind of why I don't think the argument is up there. I mean, does it make George Floyd a good person at the end of the day? Probably not. No. But I mean, if you're somebody out there who maybe is like a Christian conservative, I mean, don't you believe that all people can be saved and that they can be better people? Like the person they were yesterday can be different from the one they were today.
Yeah. I believe if you're not in jail, you got out of jail, you did your time, that's over. There's certain things that I won't go, like we'll talk about on tonight's
on
episode.
I was gonna say we're gonna talk about on Tinder. Okay.
Yeah, on the latest episode of Bridging the Gap. This is pre-recorded, so you'll understand. The last episode you've seen of us, we'll be addressing that, like of like child molesters and rapists and stuff like that. I really don't have no forgiveness for that. But if you're out criming and you're doing, I think if you did your time, you're out in the streets, you shouldn't be put in anything. You're going to already have to struggle to get on your feet, get jobs, and live a normal life. So I don't think the judgment is on that unless you're still doing all those type of behaviors.
Yeah.
But in saying that, the argument that you could have when people say that, we can have those dumbass arguments about whose record. The cop that had his knee on him had like 25 complaints against him, violent complaints. He killed somebody, shot somebody of color before. We can do that all day. But the fact of the matter is that video alone is what sparked outrage. That's everybody was like, you know what, we're done. Because the way that man looked and what he was doing to that man in our eyes, the look on his face, how the other cops were holding him down while this was happening. The other one was clearing the crowd. That was sick to watch. So bottom line is, it has nothing to do with actually that it was George Floyd. It could have been a saint or the worst person in the world, either or. It still would have happened because of how that situation was recorded and how it looked when they were doing it. It was sick.
Yeah. Agreed. So we're going to move on to the global actions. Now, this is just something I wanted to bring up just because I thought it was kind of funny. Like, if you go to their global actions, the only thing they've posted up recently is that they helped get 21 Savage. They helped get 21 Savage back into America. Say Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Cullors sponsored a petition that has received 450,000 signatures and led a social media campaign to free 21 Savage.
I think they did. I think them, Jay-Z, and Robert Kraft. I think he had something to do with it. I'm pretty sure it was Robert Kraft that had something to do with helping get 20. Handy Kraft help get 21 Savage out of his jam.
Right. They hosted like a bunch of events. I guess I don't know what happened with 21 Savage. Did they get all of his information and stuff like back? Like, I can't remember if I can't remember off the top of my head like how 21 Savage got back to America.
Yeah, I think he's good. I think they got it squashed. Probably had to pay some money to clear some things up. You know,
probably had to pay some fines and stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know how that goes. As long as you have the right people in your corner, you're not going nowhere. You know, the people with power, you're not going to get kicked out of this country, unless you do something real crazy and they just had enough of you. You know what I mean? It's over with.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring up another thing here because this is we're getting closer to the end here, and you said you wanted to talk about what you said you want to save the video that you have for last, right?
Yeah. Last thing, we'll just touch up on that and show about what I think that they should focus on if that lines up parallel with what their mission is that concerns Black lives in the community. Black Lives Matter.
Right, because I'm going to bring up the post here about the Black Lives Matter co-founder described himself as a trained Marxist. Because you wanted to have that conversation. So Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Cullors said in a newly surfaced video from 2015 that she and her fellow organizers are trained Marxists, making clear their movement ideological foundation. According to a report, Cullors was a protege of Eric Mann, former agitator of the Weathered Underground domestic terror organization, and spent years absorbing the Marxist-Leninist ideology that shaped her worldview. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers, she said, referring to BLM co-founder Alicia Garza. We are trained Marxists. We are supervised on sort of ideological theories, and I think that we are really tired, or we really tried to do. What we really tried to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many Black folk. While promoting her book, when they call you a terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir in 2018, Cullors described her introduction to support for Marxist ideology. She described to Democracy Now! How she became a trained organizer with the Labor Community Strategy Center, which she called her first political home under the mentorship of Mann. Its director Breitbart reported. Oh boy. The center, which describes its philosophy, as soon as I see Breitbart, I immediately go, ugh. The center, which describes its philosophy as an urban experiment, uses grassroots organizations to focus on Black and Latino communities with deep historical ties to a long history of anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, pro-communist resistance to the U.S. empire, according to the outlet. It also expresses its appreciation for work of the U.S. Communist Party, especially Black communists, as well as its support for the great work of the Black Panther Party, the American Indian Movement, Young Lords, Brown Berets, and Great Revolutionary Rainbow Experiments of 1970s, Breitbart reported. All right, and
Well, that's a good point right there. What did it say? It said something about pro-communist, Black
right.
pro.
Well,
She say.
if all of these things are correct, then that would in fact actually make BLM pretty much a communist organization at its
Communist.
helm. It's like it'd be like Chick-fil-A. Like, you know, like it's fair for me to say that Chick-fil-A is a Christian Republican organization, you know, company, because of the things they fund and they believe. So I guess I am wrong. I am wrong in saying that BLM is not a communist.
So they have pro-communist tools. Somebody, like in that conversation you were having on your post earlier, somebody put something in there that was interesting that I think said, when somebody said communists about communist countries, they said that they were all nothing, that they were running well, or no, socialist company. Are we saying they're socialists? What's the difference, Dev? You know
Okay. Well, for one, so I mean, for the most part, socialism pretty much leads to communism. I mean, we could go through like the fundamental differences here, but I mean, communism usually the usual end game of like communism is that basically everything is eventually provided to you by the government. I mean, you will get like the necessities anyway, like a home and all that, and then you exchange that work and labor or skill for the state fund. It's basically like you're working, it ends up like you're working for the state, which I don't agree with. Like, you're not working for your own individual freedoms and whatnot. Like, you're working for the state because it's like you're in a perpetual state of paying a tax. They provide everything to you, but in exchange, you have to work and basically get that back. Yeah, like you're paying, basically like the government becomes your sugar daddy. Now, I think there's ways maybe that you could implement it, because the general thesis of Marxism or communism is basically that eventually that, because it talks about material work and labor. So who owns the means of production? Like right now, the means of production is owned by the rich. And that's just how it works in like a capitalist society. I mean, the people who have the most money own the means of production. And if you own the means of production, then you can dictate the wages of people who are paid. You can dictate the markets. You can, and actually, like late game capitalism, the problem is that corporations now run the world. I mean, in a capitalist society, whoever controls the capital controls the world. So when you're out here selling goods and like companies such as, did I lose you? You there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So whenever you have companies that are out here selling the goods of, you know, like they're out here selling things, and like Amazon or big corporations, and there's no really comparison or contest. Those things run around amok, and they can dictate elections. They can dictate all kinds of sorts of things because they have the most amount of money. Now, socialism, I believe, more so deals with the redistribution of wealth. Which are in itself Marxist and capitalist or communist upbringings, but I would need to actually look up the actual definition, because the socialism and communism are pretty closely linked. So allow me to actually look at socialism's definition here and just see what is actually the
all right.
Well, you grab that.
Could it also be like just the label that they're giving people, the communists, like that side, whoever wrote that article could be against just giving them that tag that everybody does? Because you mentioned they said Black communists, and I know like Black Panthers, they say Black Panthers were Black communists. They weren't Black communists. They started out as a food program that was helping feeding kids in the morning that didn't get breakfast before they went to school. Basically the WIC program for the people that, you know, get WIC for their babies and stuff like that. They started that. And
and those are like socialist programs, like things like that are socialist programs.
Socialist programs. They were just trying, they were trying to help their community and protect their community. So I don't see that as Hitler. You know what I mean? I don't see it as that.
Hitler was not a communist. He was a fascist. And there's a difference there. We could talk about that on a different level. But so socialism.
Well, who's communist?
Who's communist? Like Lenin and a lot of Russian China is communist. Vietnam is communist. I mean, Russia technically right now is not it's not a communist country, but
they used to be.
Yeah. And well, I said technically, I don't really know. Like, I'd have to really do a deep dive into like actual, like maybe that'll be another episode as I talk about Russia and what it is.
Yeah, go ahead and give that definition you got.
Yeah, but anyway, so socialism, which and this is what and Marxist theory is like the transitional state. It's the transition between capitalism and communism. That's why they say, you know, socialism leads to communism, because socialism's like having, it's like kind of like having these like how would I call it? Capitalist systems kind of still in place, but like you're saying to certain people like, hey, we're voting on how this is getting spent, or there's going to be a government power that like limits how much money or the redistribution of wealth. There's a community, like they believe the exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole, which is like which as a whole would be like America. Like we as a country decide where our money goes, kind of thing.
It'd be like a membership to a club, right? You're saying everybody pays the same thing and everybody gets the same in return.
Mm-hmm. Right. Something kind of like that.
And I don't believe in that. I believe in like what we discussed about. There should be some social programs, socialist programs. I don't want the whole thing to be socialist. I believe in a capitalist, not crazy capitalist, like everybody got to be squished, but the capitalist part of it that's saying you have an opportunity in this country to get what you know, everything you want to work hard for to get. How hard you want to work, that's what you can get. You know what I mean? I think they have to do a little something about what's his name that owns Amazon? Oh, Jeff, because he's getting out of control with all the money he's making.
Right. Well, the point of, so like the problems, like, and we're getting a little off topic here, so I want to try and make sure I tie it back to BLM, but
it's all tied in. Socialist, and they're saying that it's socialist and communism.
Right. So to bring it back here, I guess what I was going to say is like the problems with like late game capitalism is you have these gigantic late game capitalism is what we call it. Like when capitalism is like Uber at its peak, the problem is you get corporations and companies that are so powerful, again, that they can influence things. Well, we need a check and balance because some people should not have all of the money that they have. Like they shouldn't have this much money. There's no human being or entity that requires $1 billion. Like realistically, there's a part of me that says like 300 million should be like the limit. Like a person could make $300 million annually, and that's it. Once they make like that, more than that, at 300 million annually, the rest of that should go to like taxes and government programs and all kinds of stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it's and Trump and people like that have given tax cuts to these people, as where we have not received these tax cuts. And trickle-down economics has failed us because we are really wage slaves. We live in a society, like the late game capitalism, the problem is that it's basically, if you do not produce at a rate that we feel you are worth, then you will die. You choose death. You're a cog in a machine and you choose death. Like that's basically what it is. Like you work, and one of the arguments I have about like universal health care is that, and this is why I think like Black people are for these kind of movements is, you know, they're tired of the system saying you have to do this or you're going to die. Basically, like we're going to let you die. You have to play by our rules. And, you know, I think the Black culture in of itself is tired of that whole mentality. I think the poor culture, the poor people in this country are tired of that mentality.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, and I don't want to tax the middle class. I want to make this very clear because what a lot of the argument of a lot of conservatives and Republicans is that we want to destroy the middle class because that's what's going to lead to communism. Wrong-o. I think what communism is really about, in my opinion, communism, socialism anyway. Because I think communism, the problem is it just gives too much power to other entities. But like socialism, like the in-between state there, it's kind of like a nice hot spot because you have like the really rich people and the really poor people are moving. It's actually expanding the middle class because it's giving equal opportunity and funding and money and redistribution of welfare and or like resources to these people. You know, like I don't have to be afraid. Like people I know and myself included are afraid to go to the hospital if we have like something going on with our bodies because we're afraid that we will like literally die of debt. and we will be enslaved to the worker system if we don't go and get it. And then basically, like, if I get cancer, it's like somebody, either myself or my family, is like, all right, if you want to treat him and you want to live, it seems like you're going to have to, work to death, because literally medical bills can stack up for that long, especially if cancer treatments go on for several years. So these are things that are wrong with like late game capitalism. And I think that's why BLM is probably identifying with these socialist Marxist tendencies, because they are tired of that oligarchical system that puts the big, and I guess probably the big white businessman too, I would say that's probably a part of it too, who doesn't understand these issues and actually are the people responsible in large part. Like, they're not just them, but people of the past, like big corporations of the past, are responsible for that subjugation.
Yeah, and I think that's what Black Lives Matter is about breaking that cycle. About breaking that cycle of that, which what they're saying, and it's true, the white businessmen, the white supremacy. We're saying the system that has just been for white rich businessmen. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what this system is designed for. Now, I don't care that if somebody makes over I don't care if somebody makes over $300 million. I don't care how much money they make. I think they should have to do more if they make more. They should have to pay more taxes. They should have to do more charity work, do some things like that. There should be restrictions on that, where they have to do more for giving back. That's what I think. If Jeff Bezos can do what he just did and make all this money and gather all this power, more power to him. I believe that he should be able to do it. But I also believe after a certain limit, he should have to do more giving back, not getting cut breaks and taxes. Because like you said, he doesn't need all that money. I do understand why people get it, because they want to enjoy their life. They want to pass something on and build it for generation. Now, if you put a cap on that, you might not get that generation. Everybody would have to start over, one mistake.
I have to be honest with you, Coach. Like, my perspective is that if you're somebody who you're a company, right? Like there's companies and there's businesses out here that are literally making, like, they won capitalism. They're making $1 billion a year, right? Or more. Right. If you can't build generational wealth from $300 million annually, you failed. As a family, I don't know what you spent all that money on, but I don't see how I think 300 million could easily, if you made the right investments annually, we're talking annually. Like, I'm just saying that number like out of my ass, because truthfully, I don't have all the answers to this, but I'm just like saying something, right? Like, in the
you don't have to defend. I'm just saying what my opinion is. I don't care how much people make.
Right. Well, and I'm bringing up my counter thing just because, like, there's a part of it I don't agree with what you're saying. And it's just that if you're making that much money and you blow it, like, you can't sustain that, it shouldn't be on you to say, well, who are we to limit them, because they should have generational wealth. If I had $10 million in the bank right now and then I was bankrupt, do you know what people would say to me? How did you fuck up $10 million? That's what they would say to me. They wouldn't say, it's so sad because he couldn't build generational wealth. It was a shame. No one's going to say that. So I think it applies to these big corporations. I mean, if you get $300 million a year annually and you blow it and you can't build a wealth from $300 million annually that goes to your kids and your kids' kids, something happened. Like, you failed somewhere along the lines. Like, you're a fraud or something. That's just my opinion.
But it doesn't, to me, that's like, it's moot, very moot. Because if you're telling a person your ceiling is, you have a ceiling. That's not American. You have a ceiling how much money you can make. I think you could make as much as you want, but once you get to these brackets, this is what you have to do in return for you getting that money. I believe in that. I don't believe on capping nobody. It's like saying, hey, John, that's what we're fighting against too. Also, we're fighting, BLM is fighting to break that up so it could be shared amongst everybody, has that same opportunity. They're not trying to put a cap on nothing. They're not trying to say that about nobody. They're definitely not saying that. They want it to be.
BLM's not saying that? If they're a Marxist, communist, socialist program, yes, they are saying that, yeah.
But they're not, bro, you're saying Black Lives Matter as a whole. They're not saying that. This lady said that her and the other one have those type of beliefs. but collectively they're not communists. The group is not a communist group. It's not all saying.
I would again have to disagree, because I started out saying that it wasn't. But if you have the co-founder and the people at the top who are saying that, and then if you have people that support that, even though they may not know or be knowledgeable that the program itself is ran by people who have Marxist beliefs, their money, their donations are going into people that do have Marxist and socialist and communist ideologies. So I mean, like, you are supporting it. It's just like if I go to Chick-fil-A and I buy chicken there, like, even though I'm just buying the food there, whatever. But if my money is going to these, like, anti-abortion, pro-Christian, pro-conservative things, right? Like, if the Chick-fil-A companies are lobbying for that, I'm still technically supporting them down the line.
Yeah, you are supporting them. You know you're supporting them if you know what they're standing for. They're clearly flat out saying that. What we're saying is this is not said in the Black Lives Matter, right? It's not said on the webpage that we believe in Marxism and communism. That's kind of what the question I'm asking is. What you read on there and compared to what it's saying in this article, if you just read Black Lives Matter, would you say it is a communist just reading that they're putting in their website?
No, but why would that, if you have the founders talking about it, right?
Right.
Why would that then still, like, just because they don't mention that on their website, it'd be like if I made a website about my business, but I don't mention that, I have socialist beliefs, like for my mediated media company. I mean, it's like irrelevant to the point that they're trying to make, I would say. Like, I mean, I guess they're more of a political thing. That information would be more key. But like every, I think, affiliate group or corporation or nonprofit or political advocacy group, I'm pretty sure they sometimes hide and curtail some of their political affiliations and don't just put them out there in the open.
Right.
I mean, just like how we saw with, I mean, if we were looking at this ads, like, the what is it called? Act Blue. It's the same thing here. I mean, it's kind of like it's a very slight deceit, but it's not like a horrifying thing to me. Like, I don't think it's like a horrible thing, but I think that it's strange that
what everybody's doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not like sitting here saying like, oh, shame on, I mean, I don't agree with it because everybody does it, but and I don't like it, but everybody does do it. Is that they're doing these kind of like little, not really showing and representing what they're all about. Now, again, like, I have socialist tendencies and I believe in socialist things. I think that there should be a cap on some people, like how much money they can make. And that's a difference you and I have. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, when you look at this organization and where it's built, I mean, just based off this information now, and honestly, I think that's enough. I mean, if you have two people that are saying at the top that they are trained Marxist and that's where they started this at, and they were underneath the tutelage of Marxists, then of course the rest of the organization, because they're making the decisions, even if you don't know they're Marxist and you're donating to them, you would be supporting a Marxist thing. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, but I think it's like I came out and said, I believe you shouldn't vote. And I made a correction at this age in my life, time, and that I believed that whole time, and made the decision that, I have to do it. I think that's something, maybe they were trained like this. 2015 is what, before Black Lives Matter was created? Maybe they got some information, got around some other people that got them involved in this and say, hey man, some of those, like we say, we're in the middle. I'm in the middle. I can do some things. I see some things positive Democratic. I see some positives in the conservatives. Can't we do that with communism too? Can't we isn't there some things in communism that are actually kind of good, or socialism, and combine all those things?
Right.
Marxism.
I would say that's what socialism is.
Let me finish real quick. Let me finish. So somebody could have came to this lady and said, hey, you guys are doing a great job at what you're doing, but you're kind of focused. Maybe you want to take some of that this part of the Marxism that you've been taught, Marxist, whatever it's called.
Marxism.
Yeah, and apply it to this, which we're doing here, which is Black Lives Matter, and we only need this part. And maybe it set a light bulb off in her head and said, yeah, some of these things I don't need. I need to be on this level. We don't know, because this was in 2015 before it was even said. How many times do we go back and say, somebody brings something up from way before, like, cancel culture and all that, that we don't kind of believe in some of the things that they do. I don't know if this is it. I guess we'd have to have her speak out some more and maybe answer to this question. Yeah. Are you still in that matter? You know, that's what I kind of shoot for. I don't want to go off of information from a site that, and plus it was set. I don't even know what site this is.
This is New York Post. So I mean, and I believe they quoted something from Breitbart and also from Prager, which is like, and also PragerU, which is like very extremely conservative bias sites. Yes. But yes. I mean, I don't doubt these quotes are real. I mean, I could probably go out and I think there is a video of her actually talking and she openly says that stuff. And I agree. And she wrote a book in 2018 called When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir. And then in the introduction to support Marxist ideology. Now, I don't think, I mean, she might have changed. They might have changed as an organization, but I think in a 2 years time, I don't think that it would change like that drastically. I mean, and you're right. I mean, cause I'm not against, like, here's the thing. I mean, this would be different if you were arguing against someone like maybe of the Sarge show or something, but like, I'm not totally against, like, I'm for socialist programs and mixing of capitalism and socialism. Capitalism and communist things, which is basically socialism in and of itself, I guess. And I'm for socialist programs. It's just that, so you won't have me have too much of a disagreement with them being based on Marxist ideologies. It's just that you have to wonder if their implementation is going to be full-blown communism or what have you. And that's kind of like where you dabble in the mud a little bit.
And that's a point. And then we can move on and end it out because it's getting to that point. That's the point that you just made there, too, right there. Is like, that's the point I was going to make. Research this stuff. That's why I was bringing up, I wasn't saying that anything. Only thing I was saying is to get more information out and the things that we disagree with. So it furthered the conversation in a deeper conversation so people could get more information and get them curious. You know how we do things, Deb. But in saying that, yes, where is it going to go? I want people to understand this. I'm not attaching my wagon to this to this horse, and you know what I mean. I'll support it because of what I know now and what I'm seeing happening. And it's given opportunities for the things we need to change. We just need to step up and get in a position to make those changes and do the work. That's what I see. So I'm for it at that. But I'm not attaching my wagon to this horse because they might jump us off a cliff. They might switch up once and then their agendas all pulled out from behind the curtains. Right. I always say, make sure you're in tune. Stop walking around like zombies and following things that you don't know. More or less of what we did with this video was give some people some more information to go do some more of their research so they can make a educated guess on, because that's all it'll be is like, where is this really going? A guess. That's all it is.
Yeah, unless you're like in the room talking with them, Right. Like you're in the room listening like the fly on the wall. So you wanted to wrap this up. Now, tell me a little bit about this video we're about to look at here real quick.
Oh, so this is a video that I seen. It was shared over the weekend. I seen it on my man Roland Martin's show. I checked him out, and he was saying that people are divided about this too, about this man coming in and helping the police arrest this man in the Black community. They're divided because there's some reasons they should be concerned about it. But what I seen in this video is how things should be done. Like if there's somebody you're in a community and you're hostile, it's not that bad. The kid's just not complying and things are getting escalated. The crowd is trying to get the kid to calm down, that you maybe invite, like this officer, you're going to see in this video that this officer is going to do something that I've never seen before. And I would just want to give respect to the police for him recognizing, hey, we can do this a different way. And I think this is what I say by when I hear defund the police. I hate that word. That's the thing they're using to say. I totally think that they just want to divert funds into training police like this to make decisions like this. Hey, I don't have to take this overboard with aggression. This guy seems to have some rapport with this kid. Let him come in to help me. So let's take a look at it and see what you think also.
Don't get on his neck now. Just tase him.
Get off his neck, bro. Don't get fuck all that shit. Come on his back. Come on his back.
All right, we got you.
I'm just saying, man.
Right here. I got you.
All right, yo.
Y'all want to help out? Nah, we just.
Just get off his back. I'm just saying,
help us out. You need some help?
Yeah. I'm just saying, though, bro. Just get off. Get off. Get off.
He lying.
He lying.
We cuff him. As soon as we get him off.
Stay still. Hey, I'm not
Here, get him.
Stay still. Hey, don't do all that resistance, bro. Chill out, bro.
Just chill out, man. They gonna put the handcuffs on you.
Don't do all the resistance.
They go the handcuffs right there. Get the handcuffs right there.
We can't get that on.
Yeah, you don't want to get his arm, man.
Give me your arm, bro. Give me your Say, home. Give me your arm, bro.
Give me your arm, man.
Please, bro.
Make it easy for yourself, man. Just give me your arm.
Look, man, record this. I'm gonna get his arm so they won't hurt him. Record this. I'm gonna get his arm. Look, I'm gonna get his arm. We got a knife on. Do we got a knife on? We haven't found him. All right, come on, give me your arm, bro. I just don't want you to get hurt. I just don't want you to get hurt.
Yeah.
Come on, I just grab his arm. I don't want you to get hurt, man. I don't want you to get hurt, bro.
Come to him. Let him move, man.
I just don't want him to get hurt. Thank you, guys. Hold on. You got it? Yeah. Roll him over. Roll him over. Come on.
Okay, here you go.
Hey, come here, sit up, man. Sit up.
There you go. My taser broke off. So you're fine.
We're getting 37 days.
Oh, so they tased him or something? Because it looked like they tased him. I'm actually going to stop the share here.
Yeah, they tased him, I guess, inside the store, and he fell forward, and then that's when the video comes in where, and that's many of the times where you see escalation happens when a person is just like, a lot of the times it's also, you can't do the things they're asking you to do how they have you. If you got a knee on your back, your hands are on your stomach, a 200-pound man is on top of you with his knee in your back, how are you going to get your hands out from underneath?
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Those type things. So I think this officer did a good job by listening to what's going on, listening. He's obviously in tune what's going on in the world. He's obviously in tune on what's going on with the police inner circle, on what's going down. And he listened and said, let me make a decision here. Let me go outside of the training and say, can you help me? Somebody that's from this community, can you help me get this done? And they did get it done peacefully. And I think this can happen all the time with the things on how they approach a situation, the training about this. Now, I'll say one more thing before I let you hop in and say what you think is, but I see this goes back to football. This analogy where I got this video for, he said the same thing. Roland Martin said the same thing. Think about how hard it is, like you play the game, that you understand the game, how hard it was for players to stop hitting people with the crown of their helmet. And hot action. You come in one day and you say, you guys can't attack the head no more. How hard is that for them to adjust, to do that? They're going to have to retrain themselves, right? That's what they have to do to the police. The police are hopping out hot. It's just all wrong. It's not de-escalation. Now you have to go back, pivot, and say, hey, there's new rules. We got to adjust. And then if the people that can adjust, what do you do? If the football player can't adjust to that and he keeps hitting the person in the head, getting penalties, get on the bench. Eventually, if you can't do it, you're out of the game or you're out of the league.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So that's how they kind of have to approach it.
Except in this instance, I think it's like, well, if you're taking like an innocent life, if you're taking a life for something like a nonviolent crime or something, well, then you're out. Like, that's it. You pretty much only get like one chance at that one. No, I mean, I totally agree. Like, what I'm watching here is something that's, kind of phenomenal in the sense that, like, you're grabbing people from the community and you're saying, hey, let's help me out. Help me get this person to help me cooperate, because he's not going to trust me. He's not going to trust people. Like, he's not going to trust the police officer. He's just not going to do it, Right. But can you guys go over here and try to convince this man here, and then actually like help the officer get his arm out from underneath him? Because he looked at the cop, almost like a negotiation. He's like, get your knee off of him so he could pull his arm out. I'll get his arm. So like the black guy, the other black guy that was there, grabbed his arm and pulled it up over the top. And then they used the other. And then once he did that, they pulled the other arm up over and got the cuffs on. You
could see the relief of the kid. Like you could see the relief of the kid. Like, okay, like at least it was the trust matter. Now I say in my head, if you do that, there has to be like because we don't like, now we're going from, okay, he's in the car to the ride down. We don't know what's going to happen. Now, that person that just helped them arrest you, what if something happens, like the rogue police officer's in there, he says, and he starts beating the kid and he dies. Now, how's that guy going to feel that he stepped in and helped them do it, even though they're going to arrest him the hard way or the easy way, and it could turn into a death. So there is mixed feelings about that too. Some people are saying that, like, the liability of it. What if that guy got hurt? and the police, you know what I mean? What if that guy had ill intentions and he tried to take the police officer's gun or something like that? So there's more things, and that's where I think the main thing has to be community policing. So if you police a community, you know that man right there is the peacemaker. So you feel comfortable letting him come in because you know who he is.
It's trust at the end of the day. I mean, you have to build trust around your community lines. You have to build trust around the police. And right now, just police officers just don't have trust. I mean, they don't blatantly straight up. They don't have trust within the communities. They don't have trust nationwide. You know, we have hashtags like, you know, all ACAB, like all cops are bad, which I don't agree with, but people are feeling that type of way. And that's because there's a lack of trust. And you have to, and that's the thing about trust is like, it's earned. And things like this can help earn that trust. You have to, at some point, like as people in the Black community, as also police officers, you have to look at, like, you have to say, hey, can you help me arrest this guy because of, for whatever reason, I don't know why they're arresting him. You know, I'm going to assume it's for the correct or proper reason. Like there's a reason why he needs to be arrested. Can you help me arrest this guy? And, you know, and then you're putting trust in the Black community. Like, okay, if we help you peaceably do this, and get the justice or whatever it is you need for whatever crime this man may or may not have committed, we're going, you know what I mean? Like then we're hoping that no harm comes to this man besides what we've already done to apprehend him. You know, like that's the whole point, I think. And that's where you start building trust. You have to start building that with your police officers, and we have to start somewhere, because right now it's like zero. It's like rock bottom. There is no trust, like pretty much period across the country. I mean, we're not just talking about like within the Black community. I mean, people, white people, you know, Hispanics, like people just don't trust the power structure anymore. Yeah.
Of the whole system. And that's a big one of them. Like we discussed, they need to take a look at that labor. It's Jimmy Hoffa strong, bro. It's Jimmy Hoffa strong, what that police union is right now. They are pretty much untouchable. So legislation has to change some of that stuff so they don't have that power. So they can't uphold that blue wall of silence anymore. They're going to be held accountable for some of the shit they do. And I totally believe in that. And I don't want to see the police go away, because we do need police. I think they need to get back on their fucking leashes and be trained properly. You know what I mean? That's the only way. Like I said, it's like you train them, and you got them riding around, no action most of the time. And then when action comes, you let them off the leash. And what do? They're going to go aggressive and attack like a dog. So we need to just fix that thing. That's what I see about the police thing. So the overall thing about BLM, I'm going to support them. I'm not going to attach my horse to their wagon and stop doing the work that I do and listening to individuals that have boots on the ground in these Black communities that are working on the Black, I'm not even going to call it Black on Black crime. I'm going to call it violence in the community, because that's what it is. They're in a community, and everybody does, whoever they're living with, and they do the crimes, and they do the violence towards people that's in every culture. It's just what it is. So that argument about what about Black lives don't matter when this happens, yes, it does, because people are on the front line. But the Black Lives Matter movement's so strong, they're getting all the coverage. They're getting all the, you know, the love. Now I want to say, what's next? Is Black Lives Matter going to come back around? Do they have plans in place to change these legislation and meet with these leaders in the community trying to stop this violence in the community? Yeah. And that's what where I'm at.
Yeah, and you know, I have to be, after like, you know, reviewing some of these things. I mean, my opinion anyway is you have to be like, I support Black Lives Matter, and how about this? I don't really support what Black Lives Matter as an organization. I support what they're trying to fix. Like, I support what they're trying to fix. So in that sense, I support Black Lives Matter. But there's a part of me, based on what I've seen with like the Act Blue, what I've seen with like, you know, some of the Marxist communist things that they're putting out there, which again, I don't always like, I don't think they're necessarily like being that Marxist ideology is a bad thing, because I have Marxist ideologies as well. But there's things that make you want to be cautious. Are they going to give in to like the democratic, how would I put it, interests over the people around them? You know, like the causes they started fighting for back, you know, around when Trayvon Martin murder was acquitted. You know, are they going to lose interest in those things and maybe just kind of roll with the political train a little bit more? or are they, going to make these differences? Because again, and also the petition, that was another red flag for me, is like, there's a petition I'm supposed to sign, but I have no idea what's on that petition. Like, those are things that like make me go, what's going on over here? I support Black Lives Matter in the sense that they support things that I support, and they're trying to make a change and difference from what I can tell. But it's just like, I feel like I'm missing bits and pieces of information that should be publicly available to me as someone who wants to support you.
Awesome. So that's just another bridging the gap moment. We don't have to agree on anything that we're talking about. We could still have the conversation, and I don't want to choke Dev. So that's
like Bart from
like homie does Bart. It's another great deep dive. I appreciate you doing all the work that was needed to be done and giving your opinion on this stuff, Dev, because this is very important. I take this very serious because I want to know what's going on next, so I know where to pivot my energy to and try to help. People, if you don't know something, just do the research on it and find out. Like I said, take a minute from your cause, because like we were going to go out the other day, some misfortune happens. We go out and check out things in the community, like with the thing that was happening yesterday. What was that cause again?
It was a justice walk for sexual abuse. We had a police officer who sexually abused a woman and only received, 2 years of probation and 15 years of reporting as a sexual predator, and no jail time for raping a woman in her own house. So
right. So there's other causes that are out there that are going through it too. So you could take a break, clear your head, and just go hear. So my head gets clear when I hear somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's struggles, because it kind of, most of the time, it makes me look at mine and be like, "You idiot! What are you stressed about, man?
What are you worked up about?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also makes you feel like it gives you like, because a lot of times when we have problems, we like to focus on the problems we have directly. And then focusing, like when we look at someone else's problem, it helps us like take ourselves out of the problem we're so focused on and say, oh, look, here's another problem. That way you're not like so fixated on it. I think that helps too.
All right, awesome. We will get out of here, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments, no matter what it is. Just try to have a grown person conversation, because we want to see where this thing's going. We want to see, you obviously look out there and see there's changes. It's coming. So what side of the fence are you going to be on? And we all want to try to get together to make this world more peaceful. That's just the bottom line in my eyes. So thanks, and we'll get back to you.
All right.
Peace.
Deuces.